Chapter 1: The Scribe's Day. Before we begin tonight's quiet journey through ancient paperwork and dusty silence, let us know in the comments, which country are you watching from? It's oddly soothing to see sleepy viewers from all over the world. And if you like gently narrated history that no one asked for, be sure to subscribe for more weekly naps through forgotten civilizations. Now imagine this. You open your eyes in Thebes. It's just after sunrise. In 1250 BCE, the air is still, dry, and already clinging to your skin. You're not royalty, not a priest, not even a pyramid builder. You are something far less glamorous and far more important than you probably realize. You are a scribe. Yes, the person responsible for recording the empire's taxes, temple rituals, beer deliveries, and occasionally the name of a lost goat. In modern terms, imagine being a government clerk, IT guy, librarian, and data analyst all at once. Without paper, without breaks, without a chair. Most people today think they'd rather be a scribe than a laborer hauling stone in the heat. But by the end of this day, you'll understand why ancient Egyptian scribes often died with crooked backs and black-stained fingers, and why you probably wouldn't last more than a few hours. Your office is a sunlit courtyard, or, if you're lucky, a shaded corner of a temple. There's no desk. You sit cross-legged on the ground, balancing a narrow wooden board across your knees. This is your writing surface, papyrus, curled and flaking, held down by worn stones. You prepare your tools, ink made of crushed soot and ochre, mixed with water, and sometimes saliva. Reed pens that fray quickly and require frequent sharpening. No erasers, no second chances. Mistakes mean starting over from scratch. You're not even writing your own words. You're copying down inventory records, royal orders, tax receipts, and repeating training drills from memory, over and over again. A favorite exercise for beginners. Copying the phrase, "Writing is the path to authority." Hundreds of times. You write this so often, it becomes ironic, because while scribes held influence, they did so through quiet obedience. No flair, no opinion, just accuracy. You spend hours transcribing lists of goods delivered to the temple, 2 baskets of onions, 3 amphorae of date beer, 1 jar of honey, all carefully recorded, sealed, signed by someone more important than you. Still, this job is a privilege. While laborers build pyramids and die young, scribes wear clean linen, shave their heads to avoid lice, and eat better than most Egyptians ever will. But comfort comes with pressure. A single miswritten symbol can mean a missing shipment, or worse, the wrath of a priest. And yet, your work shapes history. Everything from crop yields to royal propaganda passes through your hands. And what you write might be read centuries later by archaeologists decoding the life of a civilization. Your handwriting might survive longer than your name. So, you keep writing. You keep quiet. You keep your back straight, your pen wet, and your mind numb. You count bread loaves. You record temple offerings. You track workers who didn't show up on pyramid duty. And you make 3 copies. Because in ancient Egypt, if it's not written down, it doesn't exist. But eventually you look up. The sun has barely moved. Your knees ache. Your ink is drying. And you still have 4 more scrolls to copy before dinner. This is your life. Not for a day, but for decades. Still think you'd survive. But how did scribes, quietly holding together an empire, avoid collapse themselves. What kept their fingers steady, their minds sharp, and their backs from breaking? We'll find out in Chapter 2, Bread and Beer, where we explore the strange, simple diet that powered an entire civilization. Chapter 2, Bread and Beer. There are only two things you can eat today, and you won't like either: bread and beer. But don't imagine the warm, soft loaf you tear into at dinner, and forget the chilled bottle of golden lager. This bread is hard, flat, sometimes triangular, and more often than not, it will break your teeth. The beer. It's thick like porridge, fermented and sour. It's served in a jug, and you drink it through a straw to avoid the floating chunks of grain. You don't have a choice. You'll have to eat it anyway, because if you don't, you won't survive. Before we go deeper, which country are you watching from? Let us know in the comments. And if you haven't already, consider subscribing. That small click helps us keep these ancient stories going. Now, back to your daily meal. Bread and beer aren't just food in ancient Egypt. They're the economy. They're your salary. They're your survival. But before you eat, you must work. And that begins with grinding grain. You'll wake up before the sun. Your knees will hit the ground. And for the next several hours, you'll grind barley and emmer wheat by hand. You'll use a saddle quern, a large curved stone, and a smaller handheld grinding rock. You'll push and pull until your wrists go numb. But there's a problem. Every time you grind, the stone flakes off. Tiny shards of rock mix into the flour. You can't see them, but they'll wear down your teeth, little by little, until your molars are nothing but black stumps. Archaeologists know this. They've seen it in every mummy's mouth. Perfect skin, perfect hair, and teeth filed down to the root. Still, you keep going, because this is your job, and you're not paid in money. You're paid in bread. If you're lucky, you get 4 loaves a day, maybe 5, if you work on a temple or royal tomb. Sometimes your bread has dates or honey in it, but mostly it's plain, baked in a clay oven, eaten with your hands, no plates, no knives. Then there's the beer. You mash old bread into water, let it ferment for a few days, strain it into a jar, and there you go. Breakfast, because water is too risky. The Nile is filled with disease. Beer is safer, and fills your stomach when the bread runs out. This is not just survival. This is the system. Temples have bakeries. Priests get better bread. Officials track who gets what. The gods get offerings, and you get crumbs. Then the Nile doesn't flood, or it floods too much, and suddenly there's no grain, no bread, no beer. Now what? You trade jewelry for flour. You chew stale bread until it's soft enough to swallow. You get weaker. You get quieter. You stop writing. You stop speaking. You just wait for the harvest that may never come. You don't revolt. You just survive. Ancient Egypt is remembered for its gods and its pyramids, but it was held together by grain, by ovens, by aching backs and ground down teeth. And even if you survive today, even if you manage to keep your stomach full, what about tomorrow? What will you wear? Next time in Chapter 3, Bathing in Dust. Chapter 3, Bathing in Dust. You stink. But so does everyone else, because in ancient Egypt, bathing is not what you think. There are no showers, no bathtubs, no scented soaps, and absolutely no running water. You live in a house made of mud bricks, thick walls, small windows, no plumbing, no drainage. You sweat all day. You sleep in dust. You share a bed with bugs. And still, You have to go out in public looking clean. So how did they do it? Let's start with the basics. You wake up before dawn. It's already hot, and there's sand in your nose, in your ears, in your clothes. There's no towel to wipe it away. So you reach for a small jar. Inside is natron, a salty, chalky powder made from dried lake beds. You rub it under your arms, on your feet, behind your ears. It's your deodorant, your cleanser, your disinfectant. It burns a little, but it keeps the flies off. And that's all that matters. If you're rich, you have a servant pour cool water over your hands, maybe even your feet. They'll catch it in a basin, use it again. Nothing goes to waste. You'll take a linen rag soaked in water, wipe your arms, your face, your legs, and that's it. You are now clean, clean enough to visit a temple, clean enough to go to court, clean enough to serve the gods, but you still smell like earth, like dust and grain and sweat. So you add oil, not perfume, just oil, pressed from castor beans or moringa seeds, thick, heavy, sticky in the heat. You rub it across your scalp, on your chest, and behind your neck. It doesn't cover the smell, it mixes with it, and that's just normal. If you're noble or priestly, you shave all of it. Your head, your face, even your body hair, not for looks, but for hygiene. Hair catches lice, fleas, mites, and in Egypt, those aren't just annoying, they carry disease. So out comes the bronze razor, sharp but not clean. And once a week, you scrape your skin raw. It's painful, but necessary. Even children were shaved, their heads left with one side lock, a dangling braid of youth. Women used pumice stones, or rubbed their legs with crushed shells. Pain was part of the process. But let's be clear, there's no illusion of freshness. You still smell like labor, like cooking fires, like leather and dirt and temple incense. So how often do you bathe? Once a day, maybe, if there's water, if you're important, if it's festival season. But most of the time, you wipe, you rinse your hands, you change your linen wrap, and hope for a breeze. Don't even ask about bathrooms. There is no plumbing, no privacy, just a clay pot in a corner or a squat over sand. Waste is buried, sometimes thrown into the street, sometimes used as fertilizer. You walk past it, you breathe it, and you keep moving, because this is Egypt, and this is normal. Still think you'd survive. Remember, you haven't even made it to noon. Next time, in Chapter 4, Farming the Nile, where you'll be waist deep in water, mud, and mosquitoes, just to grow a single loaf of bread. Chapter 4, Farming the Nile. You can't eat unless the Nile agrees, and the Nile doesn't care about your plans. Every year it floods, every year it recedes, and in between you survive. But today it's planting season, and that means it's time to work. You don't own land, you rent it from the temple, from a noble, or from the state. And in return, you give them half your harvest, sometimes more, sometimes all of it. But first, you have to get muddy. You wake before the sun, again, and walk barefoot to the field. It's not a field in the modern sense. No tractors, no rows, just brown, sticky marshland, littered with broken reeds and wet footprints. The flood left behind silt, black, rich, and clumpy, the closest thing to fertilizer you'll ever get. Stone or bronze blade, tied with rope. It's dull, heavy, but all you have. You bend down and don't stand up again for hours. Every motion is the same. Lift, dig, turn, repeat. Your back screams. Your legs cramp. You sweat so much, Your linen kilt clings like wet paper. There is no water break. You drink from a clay jug if someone brings it, or you sip from a canal and hope you don't get sick. When the soil is ready, you scatter the seeds, wheat, barley, lentils, if you're lucky. You don't plant them in neat rows. You toss them by hand. Pray the birds don't eat them. And then comes the cattle, 2 cows or oxen, if your neighbor is generous. You lead them back and forth. Their hooves press the seeds into the ground. That's your planter, a pair of animals and a stick. And you pray, because the rain won't help you here. This is Egypt. The sky rarely cries. Your only hope is the Nile, that it rose just enough, not too little, not too much. If it flooded too low, your crops will dry. If it flooded too high, your fields are ruined, and the temple still demands its share. So you live by mud and die by water. But it doesn't end there. You build canals. Dig them with your hands. Guide the river into narrow trenches. Make it stay long enough to nourish the roots. But the water is wild, and the sun is cruel. The topsoil dries fast. You crack it open with your hoe, or walk barefoot to break it with your heel. You work in silence. Only the buzz of flies and the calls of ibis birds echo across the reeds. Your arms blister. Your knees bleed. You tie strips of linen around your ankles to keep the leeches off. It doesn't work, and yet you keep going. Because if you stop, you starve, and if you fail, your children won't eat. The granary won't pay you, the gods won't bless you, and the tax collector won't care. By sunset, you return home, empty-handed, wet and itching. There's no bath, no soft chair, and sleep on a mat. Tomorrow, you do it all again and again and again. This is farming. This is Egypt. This is survival. No breaks, no weekends, no future, just dirt and debt and hope. Still think you'd last. Next time, in Chapter 5, Barefoot Problems, where even a walk to the market becomes a health hazard in ancient Egypt. Chapter 5, Barefoot Problems. You open your eyes. The sun's already winning. There's no snooze button, just heat. And your feet. You don't own shoes. You might have sandals made of palm fiber, but you won't wear them today. Why waste them? So you step outside onto cracked clay, still damp from yesterday's Nile runoff, still sharp enough to cut. The ground isn't just hot, it's alive. Beetles, glass-sharp reeds, burnt pebbles, sand that grinds into your skin like salt. But you walk anyway, to the market, to the field, to the granary, to temple errands, everywhere. Every walk is a gamble. Stub a toe, it festers. Cut your heel, you limp for weeks. Step on waste or fish bones, you get infected. There's no antiseptic, just prayers. And still, no one talks about it, because everyone's feet hurt, even the nobles, who at least wear sandals. But sandals don't solve everything. They fall apart. They slide off. They don't protect you from the real danger. Heat, the ground scorches. Literally, you can feel your soles thicken from burns. Calloused, yes, but calluses can tear, and beneath them raw flesh. At noon, the walk becomes war. Every step calculated. Avoid black stones. Avoid metal scraps. Avoid dried animal bones. No one waits for you. If you fall behind, too bad. If you complain, there's always someone worse. Children run past you barefoot. Elderly limp through alleyways. Priests tiptoe across courtyard tiles. It's not about comfort. It's about getting somewhere alive. And then there's disease, tetanus, hookworm, fungal rot. You know what they are by what they do, not what they're called. People's toes turn black. They disappear for days. Sometimes they don't return. You sit one day beside a man with no big toe. He says nothing. You don't ask, because losing parts of your foot isn't rare. It's just ... inconvenient. And yet, you're expected to deliver grain. Walk to the scribe's office. Stand in line at the tax post. And still show up to dig canals the next morning. You think about shoes. You dream of them. Not for comfort, for survival. A barrier between your body and this ancient cruelty. Something that says, I matter enough to walk safely. But there's no one to hear that thought. No cobbler who cares. No pharaoh who notices. Just hot sand and open sores. You wash your feet in the canal. It stings. It always stings. Then back home, where even the floor has grit. No rest, no balm. Just more walking tomorrow. Your feet are history's most silent victims. They carry empires and die in silence. Still think you'd last. Next up, Chapter 6, Temple Duty, where standing still for 10 hours can be just as brutal as walking all day. Chapter 6, Temple Duty. The temple doors rise like cliffs, stone blocks stacked with a silence that swallows sound. You enter quietly, because this is not a place to speak. It's a place to stand. You're the lowest ranked temple worker today, a watcher, a silent figure among columns and dust. Your job? To be invisible, to hold still, to make no mistake. You were chosen not for wisdom, but for your ability to stay upright. The high priest passes. You bow with your eyes. If you move too much, it's noticed. If you move too little, it's noticed. The air is thick with burned myrrh. It settles in your lungs. You will breathe smoke for hours. You will not cough. Coughing is disrespect. The walls around you are covered in sacred scripts. Stories carved in stone. Gods with falcon heads. Offerings etched like ledgers. You've read none of them, because you are not a reader, only a watcher. Only a body that proves reverence by standing still. Sometimes you hold a torch. Sometimes you sweep. Sometimes you fan the high priest while he chants. But mostly you just stand. 1 hour, then another, then another. Your legs scream in silence. Your back folds like old linen. But your face does not change, because the temple is not a place for comfort. It is a theater of divine endurance. Every moment is a performance, and you are never the star, only the background. Even your sandals are taken off. Bare feet on hot stone. You shuffle only when told. You stand with hands behind your back. The offerings arrive. Fish, bread, beer, incense. You smell everything, but touch nothing. You grow hungry, but do not speak. Hunger is beneath the gods. You see the same priest fall asleep during chanting. He is whipped quietly outside. He does not return today. Tomorrow, maybe. You are not here to feel. You are here to represent order, Matt. The balance between chaos and eternity. And if your knees give out, you fail, Matt, and chaos enters, and you are dismissed, or worse, reassigned to tomb labor. So you breathe carefully, not too deep, not too shallow, because even the air must pass in harmony. A scarab beetle crawls across your toes. You do not flinch. The gods are watching, or at least the high priest is. At sunset, the ritual ends. You bow again. You wait for dismissal. No one thanks you. There is no blessing, only a nod and silence. You step outside. The sun is gone, but your sweat is still there. You walk home quietly, muscles twitching, back stiff, feet raw. Tomorrow you'll stand again. Different God, same pain. Temple. Duty is not sacred, it's survival. You don't worship, you perform, and no one claps when it's over. Still think you'd last. Chapter 7. Linen Woes. Morning light spills over the Nile. You reach for your clothes. There's only linen. There's always only linen. It's coarse, it's stiff, and it wrinkles faster than river reeds in wind. Your tunic is freshly washed, but it's already full of folds. And in ancient Egypt, folds are not fashionable. They're offensive. You try to smooth it, but your hands are dry, chapped from sand and soap made of animal fat. There is no lotion, only spit. You finally manage to pull the tunic over your head. It clings to the sweat from your neck. You haven't even walked outside. In ancient Egypt, cleanliness isn't next to godliness. It is godliness. And yet, laundry is punishment. It's work for the poorest. And for you today, it's mandatory. You step outside into the sun. Your linen already yellowing under the heat. Dust rises with every footstep. Your white cloth absorbs it like memory. A stain that won't leave. You pass others on the road. Everyone is judging everyone's linen. Wrinkles mean laziness. Frayed edges mean poverty. Sweat marks mean failure. You feel all three. Your neighbor wears perfectly bleached layers. His mother's a washerwoman. Yours, blind from lye fumes at the temple. You carry a bucket to the river. Inside, more tunics, loincloths, head wraps, everything white, everything heavy when wet. At the Nile's edge, you kneel. You slam fabric against a rock, over and over. The stone grumbles under each strike. Your elbows ache. Your shoulders scream. Then comes the soap, a gray paste. It smells like smoke and old animals. You rub it into the cloth. It burns your knuckles. But if you use less, the dirt stays. Next, you rinse. The water turns brown. You pretend not to notice. Everyone else pretends to. You wring the cloth out. Twist, twist again. Fingers blister. But there's no stopping now. You stretch the cloth across reeds to dry. The sun works fast. Too fast. It bakes the wrinkles in. You try to smooth them with a hot stone, a trick your grandmother taught you, but it scorches the hem. You flip the cloth over, hide the burn. The day is almost gone. You've spent hours just trying to look clean, and you're still not. Back home, you try the tunic again. Stiffer now. It scratches your skin with every move, but it's dry, and that's enough. Tomorrow, it will be dirty again. Tomorrow, you will repeat it. Linen is eternal, but your patience is not. Still think ancient Egypt looked glamorous. Next up, Chapter 8, Pyramid Shift, where lifting stone isn't the worst part of your day. Chapter 8, Pyramid Shift. You've been assigned to the Royal Building Project. And not just any project, one that touches the gods. A pyramid, stone, sweat, sun, and silence. He's not even dead yet. You are not a slave. You're a state laborer, a taxpayer in human form. You're compensated with bread, beer, onions, and sometimes salt. Your name is written down. So they know if you vanish, your day begins in the dark. Before the sun, before the birds, you wake. To a dust-filled throat, chew old barley bread, swallow it down with warm, flat beer, and walk for miles to the site. The pyramids don't rise from the desert, they're pulled from it, one block at a time, oxen, and they're waiting for you. You work in a team, dozens of you assigned to just one stone. You tie it with ropes, douse the path with water to reduce friction, push, pull, push again. The ramp ahead is steep, the dust is dry, the stone groans like it's alive. Your shoulder begins to separate from your body, but no one notices. Everyone's in pain. Pain is the shift supervisor. Supervisors watch from shaded tents. They shout, they don't lift, but their hands are clean, and their stomachs are full. You've been doing this for 17 days straight. Your fingers are swollen, your heels are cracked. You can barely feel your palms anymore. Only the heat. Midday is rest, if it comes. You sit beneath an angled cloth held up by 2 sticks. You're served beer again, sour and warm. It helps the pain fade, but only slightly. You eat onions. They're supposed to ward off illness. They mostly just make conversation unbearable. A man collapses near the ramp. No one looks. You just hope it's not your turn tomorrow. The limestone tears your skin. The sun roasts your back through your linen. You haven't seen your family in over a week. You dream of rivers and shade. But wake up back in the dust, you wonder. Is this for the pharaoh or for eternity? Is there really a god inside the tomb? Or just another man who didn't carry a single stone? Legs trembling, mind blank. You lie in your corner of a shared house. You don't speak. You just close your eyes and fall asleep, still aching because tomorrow you'll rise again, and the pyramid won't be done, and the stone won't move itself, so you will next. Chapter 9. Tooth trouble. A cracked molar, a pounding jaw, and no dentist in sight. Chapter 9. Tooth trouble. Asterisk. There's a sharp pain in your jaw this morning. Not the dull ache of hard labor. Not the soreness of poor sleep. This one stabs. Like something small is breaking apart in your mouth. You try chewing bread, and it hits. The spot. The pain blooms like fire. You drop the bread and hold your face. It's your back molar. Again, no one talks about dental care in ancient Egypt because there is none. There's a priest who performs mouth rituals, but mostly you're left with the tools of prayer and patience. Neither relieves the pain. Egyptian bread isn't soft. It's mixed with sand, actual sand. The grindstones used for flour leak grit into every bite. So your teeth are slowly destroyed day after day, meal after meal. By 30, everyone has dental damage. By 40, some die of infection. Abscesses spread to the brain or blood. All from a tooth. You go to the local healer. He gives you a poultice of honey and herbs. It numbs for an hour, then it returns worse. The swelling begins. Under your jaw, you can't swallow properly. Someone suggests magic. The incantation involves spitting in a bowl and whispering to the gods. You try it, because why not? It doesn't work. The temple scribe tells you of a cure. Drain the tooth, drain the rot. No anesthesia, just faith and screaming. You choose not to. You'd rather endure the pain. For now, by evening, your face is puffy. The fever starts to rise. Your vision goes soft around the edges. You lie down with a cloth on your head. Try not to move your jaw. Try not to think about tomorrow. You wonder, will this end with healing or silence? No one remembers how many workers died of tooth infections. There's no papyrus for that, just empty chairs and quiet mornings. Tomorrow, the sun will rise. The pyramid will wait. And if your fever breaks, you'll return to the stones. If not, your name will be scratched from the list, and someone else will chew sand in your place. Next, Chapter 10. Desert Deliveries, Messages, Goods, and Supplies. Must cross the burning sands. But the desert doesn't care about your cargo or your life. Chapter 10. Desert Deliveries. The sun hasn't risen yet, and already the heat presses against your skin like a threat. Your task today is simple. Take the satchel of scrolls, cross the desert road, and deliver them to the next outpost. 4 hours by foot. Each way, you tie the linen wrap around your head. It's thin, too thin. But anything thicker will cook you alive. There is no cart, no animal. You're the delivery system, a human courier. And the desert does not care about your mission. The scrolls are for a scribe. Requests for copper tools, edits to grain tallies. Nothing worth dying for. But still, you must go. The sand is soft and treacherous. Every step is a lesson in regret. Your sandals fill with grit within minutes. You stop, shake them out, keep walking. There is no shade. The only thing that moves faster than you is the sun, and it's climbing now, angry and white. By midday, the horizon bends like glass. You are walking inside a mirage. Your water jar is half gone. You ration sips, but your lips are cracking. The papyrus scrolls are sweat-stained through the satchel. You wonder if the ink will smudge, if the scribe will complain, if anyone will care that you nearly died. A small lizard darts across your path. You watch it vanish into a crack between rocks. You do not. By the 3rd hour, the nausea begins. The horizon shakes. Your legs feel light. You sit under a brittle thorn bush, the only plant in miles, and close your eyes. Just for a moment. When you wake, the sun has moved again. You've lost time, and that is dangerous, because you now have less daylight for the return. At last, the outpost appears. A square shadow against the sand. Mud brick walls and 2 tired guards who barely nod. You hand over the scrolls. One of them gives you water. It tastes like clay and goatskin. You drink anyway. There is no reward, no thanks, just the return journey waiting. Back, across the desert, back to your village, to rest, to sleep, to do it again next week. Not all of ancient Egypt was gold and glory. Much of it was walking through heat, carrying words that weren't yours, for people who didn't know your name. And even now, as you collapse by the fire that night, face peeling, throat dry, you wonder, what happened to the ones who got lost? On the way, there are no monuments for couriers, only the sand that swallows footprints and keeps the silence of their stories. Next, Chapter 11. Night at the Temple, a place of mystery, power, and cold stone. What happens when the gods go quiet? Chapter 11. Night at the Temple. You weren't supposed to stay after sunset, but now the doors are closed behind you. Heavy stone, no latch on the inside, just quiet and shadow. The temple is nothing like the world outside. no dust, no sun. Only the cool breath of limestone walls and the soft shuffle of your own footsteps echoing back at you. You were sweeping, just sweeping. The priest said he'd be back. He hasn't returned. And now you are alone, locked in with the gods. The torches are nearly out. You hold your breath as the last flame flickers, leaving you in thick, sacred black. Temples weren't made for people like you. They were made for gods, for statues, for rituals you don't understand. The walls are painted with stories, men with jackal heads, rivers of red eyes that never blink. You can hear water. Somewhere deep inside, the holy pool still reflects the moon, but you dare not go near it. It is not for your kind. You sit beside a column wider than a grain silo, where carvings wrap around it, lotus petals and cartouches, a king's name repeated, like a prayer etched so deep that even centuries will not erase it. You've never spent a night without the stars, but in here, no stars exist. No wind, no dogs barking, no firelight from homes, only the soft sound of stone breathing. You whisper, but your voice doesn't travel. You wonder if the gods sleep or if they're always watching. There is movement, a flutter, a scraping, something in the shadows. No, a bat, just a bat, just a bat. It dips through the air like an old curse, but your hands are shaking now. The temple is still, but stillness can be loud. You hear your own heart, each beat a reminder. You are too alive to be in here. What would they do if they found you? Would they assume theft, desecration? The punishment for entering the Holy of Holies, even by mistake, can be death. But you didn't mean to. You were just sweeping. Your eyes adjust to darkness. You begin to see outlines. The statue at the far end of the room, 6 feet tall, black as oil, eyes inlaid with gems. You think it moved. Of course, it didn't. But still, you look away. You try to sleep, curled beside a wall where 1,000 prayers are scratched in with blunt tools. A mason's name, a prayer for a son, a curse on a neighbor. Real lives trapped in stone. You wonder if anyone will remember yours. Morning comes slowly, a thin gray line under the door. You are alive. You are untouched. You are still here. The priest returns, confused, then annoyed. He doesn't ask what you saw. You don't tell him. Some things are too sacred, others too boring to matter. But as you walk home, blinking at the daylight, you know something happened. Or didn't, but it changed you. Because once you've spent a night in the dark with gods, the sun never feels the same again. Next, Chapter 12, School in Thebes, where ink stains outlast memory, and the punishment for a single mistake echoes through the decades. Chapter 12, School in Thebes. It begins with your knees in the dirt again. The morning sun hasn't climbed past the palms, but the schoolmaster already has. Your name is the first he calls, and not kindly. You sit with a reed brush tucked behind your ear, a chipped wooden palette resting in your lap. The black ink smells of gum and soot. The red ink, soot, for correction smells worse. It's your 3rd month in the scribal school at Thebes, and you're still not sure if this is a blessing or a curse. You don't plow fields, you don't haul bricks, but you do copy the same sentence over and over again for 6 hours. A scribe in his study is more exalted than a soldier on the battlefield. You pause to rub your wrist. Too long, and it cramps. Too short, and the overseer thinks, "You're idle." He doesn't speak much, but when he does, it's with the stick. The punishment isn't personal, it's tradition. Every boy here has been whipped for bad penmanship, or for talking, or for no reason at all. This is how scribes are made. Your friend beside you sneezes. A cloud of dust from the papyrus. He's writing about tax records. He's 12, you're 12. The lessons are relentless. Mathematics, law, myths, list after list after list. Gods, fish, types of linen, parts of oxen. It's not about understanding, it's about memory. The school in Thebes doesn't care. If you think, only if you write. There is no chalkboard, no break, just a master's voice and the dull scratch of thousands of reed pens across papyrus. You mess up a numeral, one line too many. Your teacher sees it, the stick again. He reminds you, if you want to be anything in this life, you must master ink. The Pharaoh doesn't speak to farmers. He speaks to scribes. Lunch is barley bread and dried dates. You eat in silence, watching a crocodile drift lazily in the canal nearby. It seems freer than you are. You're not even allowed to look out of turn. Sometimes you dream of leaving, running to Nubia, becoming a hunter, living by the river. But then you remember your cousin who tried that. He now digs graves outside the city, barefoot, sunburned, forgotten. You look down at your scroll. At least this will outlast you. Some students break. Others are broken into shape. The boy beside you hasn't spoken in days. Not since he made a mistake in the name of Amen. The master didn't take that kindly. You heard him crying that night. You didn't comfort him. You wrote your lines. That's what's expected. Years will pass. Eventually, you'll be assigned to a temple or a tax office or the records room of a tomb. But for now, your world is ink and silence. No applause. No encouragement. Only survival. And if you survive long enough, one day someone will say your name aloud while reading an old list of wheat deliveries from Thebes, and that will be your immortality. Next, Chapter 13, Marketplace Chaos, where you'll see why haggling heat and the smell of dried fish could ruin anyone's diavan in a civilization as divine as Egypt. Chapter 13, Marketplace Chaos. You're barely 5 steps into the market before the noise hits you. It's not a shout, it's a swarm. Vendors yelling over one another. The heat, a clay jug, crashes behind you. No one looks back. It happens every day. You weren't even supposed to be here, but your mother gave you one job: get onions, lentils, and fresh yeast, and not to be cheated. Good luck with that. A man selling papyrus sandals swears by the gods they're from Memphis. They smell like swamp. A butcher holds up a slab of goat meat, flies settling as he talks. You pretend not to notice. You squeeze past a group of noblewomen with shaved heads and heavy eyeliner. They glare at your bare feet. No one here is Dot. The market is Thebes' great equalizer. Rich and poor both sweat the same in this sun, but only one of them gets to walk home without haggling over the price of garlic. You pass a spice seller counting out cumin seeds by hand. His son watches you, not with curiosity, with calculation. You clutch your copper coins tighter. The baker's stall is next. You smell it before you see it. Warm barley bread, crusted with sesame. A hand grabs your wrist. 2 deben of copper. and I throw in an extra loaf. You know the real price is 1 deben. The baker laughs, but doesn't stop you. That's how this works. The next vendor has onions, not fresh, wrinkled. The smell alone could wake a mummy. You point out the rot. She shrugs. You buy anyway. You're already sweating through your linen wrap. Every step is a negotiation. Every coin is a risk. If you overpay, your mother will notice. If you argue too long, the vendor might just curse you. And in Egypt, curses tend to stick. Nearby, a priest from the temple of Amun is buying incense. He doesn't pay, he just points. The vendor bows, hands it over. You try that. The salt cellar laughs in your face. The fish stand is unbearable. Drying catfish hang from reeds, stiff as boards, eyes wide open. The smell of Nile mud and scales punches the air. You pass a woman shouting about her missing goat. No one stops. To help, she screams louder. A street performer in a lion mask dances for coins. Children clap. Adults pretend not to care. Someone lifts a loaf from a stall while the vendor is distracted. Pickpockets are part of the marketplace, like dust, like flies. You see a tax scribe watching from the shadows, not shopping, just counting. Everything here gets taxed. Salt, linen, baskets, even used oil. You wonder how long until your name ends up in his tablet. Your hands are full now. Onions, yeast, a tiny pouch of lentils, 1 copper deben left. You consider spending it on figs. You don't. Your mother needs it. You turn to leave and nearly collide with a foreign merchant. Nubian. He's selling ivory combs and glass beads. You mumble an apology. He doesn't hear. As you exit, you catch one last glimpse of the market. A boy chasing a duck. A woman yelling about unfair weights. A scribe arguing with a brewer. Somehow, everyone knows exactly what to do. But you just want to get home before the yeast sours. Next, Chapter 14, Pharaoh's Servant, where you'll see the splendor and suffocation of serving someone considered divine and how quickly a golden life can feel like a prison. Chapter 14, Pharaoh's Servant. They wake you before the sun, not with a shout, with a whisper, because Pharaoh still sleeps. And so the palace walks softly. No loud sandals, no dropped jugs, no coughing if you can help it. You're just one of dozens in the servant wing. A linen runner, a water bearer, a shadow in the halls. The palace isn't made of gold. Not really. The walls are plaster and painted with scenes of paradise. But the scent is real cedar oil, incense, sweat. Always sweat. Your job is simple. When Pharaoh rises, his bath must already be poured. The oils warm, the cloths soft, the sandals brushed, clean of yesterday's dust. You've never spoken to him. You're not allowed. If he addresses you, you kneel. If he glances, you bow. You don't exist unless summoned. They say Pharaoh is the son of Ra, but this son of the sun god gets morning breath like everyone else. Still, when he enters the room, no one looks directly at him. He stretches, yawns, and begins the day with rituals. Priests chant. You fetch water from the sacred basin. You are invisible again. The palace has its own world. Food comes from the temple kitchens, grapes, beer, bread. You carry trays with eyes lowered. One mistake, and you're gone. Not punished, replaced. Another servant will take your place by nightfall. No questions asked. You polish a golden mirror until your hands cramp. You're not allowed to see your reflection in it. It's for Pharaoh's face only. Later, you walk the long hallway to the outer chamber. It's lined with statues, some taller than you, some watching you. You pass the royal children. They laugh at you. One throws a date pit. It hits your arm. You say nothing. You were once a child, too. Now you're a servant. Somewhere along the way, you became quiet. In the afternoon, Pharaoh leaves for ceremony. You follow behind the entourage, always in the rear, never ahead. You hold a fan, made of ostrich feathers. Your arm aches from waving it, but it must not stop, not even for a second. You think of home, of the courtyard where your mother wove mats, of the goat you lost last year. This is better, they told you. To serve in Pharaoh's house is a great honor, but honor doesn't mean comfort. By night, you are finally dismissed. No words, just a nod. You return to the servant quarters. Your feet are swollen. Your linen smells of perfume and nerves. You fall asleep with a question in your head. If Pharaoh is divine, why does he need so many of us just to get through the day? Next, Chapter 15, Plague Season, where invisible enemies sweep through villages, faster than the Nile floods, and prayers aren't always enough. Chapter 15, Plague Season. It begins with silence. No hammers on stone, no oxen dragging plows, no chants from temple priests, just coughing. A lot of coughing. They call it cheeps, the sickness, the one that comes with the flies. And the flies come with the heat. The heat comes after the Nile retreats. So yes, every year, but this time it's worse. The smell hits first. Rotting fish from drying banks, swollen carcasses that couldn't be buried in time. The mud shrinks and cracks. So do lips, so do lungs. At first, it's the old, then it's the children. Then it's whoever had the bad luck to drink unboiled water yesterday. You hear the rumors, a curse, a foreign god, too much sin, too little incense. You want to believe it's just the Nile playing tricks. But people are dying in the fields, on their mats, in their own arms. The temples fill with offerings, dates, baskets of figs, even live animals, desperate to please the gods. The priests burn more myrrh. They recite spells from the Book of the Dead. They rub onions on the chest and say the illness can be blown out like a snake. But the snake just keeps moving. You stay indoors more. Not that your home is sealed mud brick and reeds only hold so much. The breeze brings the sound of grieving. Someone bangs on your neighbor's door. A man is asking for help. No one opens anymore. When someone dies, the family rushes to bury them. The sooner they reach the afterlife, the less likely the body invites more flies. Mourners don't wear black. They tear their linen, cover their heads in dust. Even the professional wailers have gone quiet. The workers are told not to speak of it, but fewer show up at the quarries. The pyramid scaffolds are emptier now. Still, the overseers lash, the ones who remain. The work never stops, not for grief. Scribe keeps a list of the dead. You glance at it once. 3 columns, then 5, then 7. He has no room left on the page. At the riverbank, a group prays to Sobek, the crocodile god. They offer lotus flowers and ask him to stop devouring their people. But a crocodile doesn't care what you ask. It eats what's in the water. You help carry a body one day. A neighbor. He wasn't old, just unlucky. You wrap him in what cloth the family could spare. Say a few words. Drop coins for the journey. The embalmers are overwhelmed. They cut corners. Now, less resin, quicker wrappings. Even the dead must rush. You wonder who will carry you then. Like it arrived. The plague just thins out. The wind shifts. The flies retreat. The coughs lessen, and the work resumes. No one speaks of those weeks directly. It's dangerous to name what can return, so they chant a little louder at the temples, scrub their hands with more natron, eat garlic and wait, because the Nile will flood again. And after that, the heat, and after that, the flies. Next, Chapter 16, Courtroom Silence, where justice is swift, silence is golden, and your fate might be decided before you're even allowed to speak. Chapter 16, Courtroom Silence. You are not allowed to speak yet. That is the first thing you must learn. You may think the truth is on your side, but in the court of ancient Egypt, truth is not loud. It is quiet, measured, written. The sun is barely up when you arrive at the courthouse, if you can call it that. Just a shaded stone portico attached to the local governor's estate. There are no grand pillars, no scales of justice, no audience. There are scribes, a lot of scribes, and all of them are watching you. Your linen is wrinkled. You haven't slept. You think of what your neighbor told you. Speak only when spoken to. Breathe through your nose. Keep your eyes low. You are accused of stealing grain from a government storehouse. You did not, but you were seen near it. That's often enough. There is no lawyer to help you, no jury of peers, just a panel of judges' priests, mostly. They are robed, calm, and tired. They have seen this before. Your name is read aloud, your occupation, your father's name, your village, then silence. Your accuser speaks first, he claims. He saw you near the storehouse door with a sack. You were walking too quickly, he says. You didn't look him in the eye, suspicious. You want to protest, but still, you must not speak. A scribe reads a report from a guard. There were footprints, not yours, but close. It's enough to be suspicious. Now the judges look at you. Only now may you speak, but only what is asked. Where were you that night? You tell them. With your cousin, repairing the fence. But your cousin is sick today. He cannot come. Convenient. They nod. The scribes write furiously. Ink on palm scroll. Your words, your pauses, your tone. Every detail goes in the record. You are asked if you've stolen before. You say no. They look through a previous list. You are not on it. That helps. But not much. They ask you to swear by Mat, the goddess of truth and balance. You say yes. You repeat the oath. You promise your innocence. They sigh. It is not the worst crime, but it is a crime that disrupts order, and order is what keeps Egypt alive. One judge leans forward. He asks how many sacks of grain your household received last season. You tell him. He frowns. That's more than most. Did you not have enough? You don't answer that. You weren't supposed to speak. A final scribe approaches the bench. He presents a scroll. Someone else, another witness, has submitted a statement. You don't know this person, but they say they also saw someone near the grain storehouse. They don't name you. It is enough. You are found not guilty, but you are given a public warning. You must present yourself to the same court every season. They will review your work, your conduct, your associations. If you miss a summons, you will not be tried again. You will be punished. You leave the stone courtyard in silence. The sun is higher now. Your shirt is soaked. The scribes continue writing even as you leave. Your name will stay in the records forever in Egypt. Truth is never yours. It belongs to the record. Next, Chapter 17, Ink and Authority, where the scribes write the laws, write your guilt, and sometimes write history itself. Chapter 17, Ink and Authority. Your job is not to speak. Your job is not to argue. Your job is to write. That's how it begins. You're not a noble, not a priest, not a warrior. You're a scribe, and that means your tool is not a sword, but a reed pen. You wake early always, before the markets, before the bakers, before the sun warms the Nile. You prepare your ink by grinding ochre and soot. One red, one black. That's all you need. Red for names, beginnings, orders. Black for everything else. You carry no weapons, but your words decide everything. Land disputes, temple finances, punishments, taxes, marriages, even death sentences. You are barely 25 and you already know too much. Your office is a shadowed chamber inside the house of life, a temple annex where sacred texts, tax lists, and birth records sleep side by side. It smells of ink and old papyrus. You share your desk with lizards. They don't judge you. This morning, you're told to copy a decree from the Vizier. It's long, precise, boring, but if you miss a symbol, if you write the wrong determinative, someone might lose their land or their life. You do not sip tea. You do not stretch your legs. You do not talk to the others. A scribe's mistake is not a joke. It is a legal disaster. Once the copy is complete, you dust it with sand to dry the ink. Then a priest will bless it. Then it becomes law. You've just created authority, not by vote, not by sword, but by ink. You think back to the trial you attended as a boy, a farmer, accused of cheating weights, no lawyer, no jury, just a scribe, calmly reading the evidence from a scroll you had copied. You realized then a man's freedom depends on how neat your handwriting is. No wonder Pharaoh respects you, not loves you, not trusts you, but respects. Even Pharaoh needs scribes. Even gods need names written to live forever. You've written royal decrees, temple inventories, tax scrolls, death records. You've erased names too. That's the cruelest part. Erasing a name from a record. It's worse than exile. Worse than death. Because to ancient Egyptians, to be forgotten is the true end. Your friend Hesira made that mistake. He wrote a death notice using the wrong title for a priest. The priest's family was powerful. Hesira was beaten, his right hand broken. He no longer writes. He sharpens pens for others now. You visit him sometimes. He never complains. He doesn't need to. His name is no longer on the roster. He's already half-erased. Some days you question your place. You don't pray aloud. You don't fight in wars. You don't build tombs. But everything still depends on you. And no one notices them lest you get it wrong. Outside, the sun bakes the temple walls. You pause to flex your fingers. They hurt. They always hurt. You dip your reed pen in black ink. Next scroll. Next name. Next judgment. Ink flows. And so does Egypt. Next, Chapter 18. Funeral math, where mourning meets measurement. And the price of your afterlife must be carefully calculated. Chapter 18. Funeral math. You die poor. That's the first problem, not the dying part. You've accepted that. You've seen it often enough. It's the calculation that follows. In ancient Egypt, death is a financial event, a spiritual expense sheet, a logistical nightmare wrapped in linen and incense. You've passed on, but your family has not. And now, they must budget your journey to the afterlife. The priest of Anubis does not work for free. The embalmers want oil, natron, resin, linen, and they charge by the layer. Even mourning has a price. Your brother negotiates. He wants a full embalming 40 days. The priest suggests 20. Your sister haggles for 10. Each day removed is a sin buried beneath silence. Your body waits, wrapped halfway inside a hut that smells like drying salt and decay. The embalmers are kind. They aren't emotional. The fourth body, today, the cartouche on the tag reads your name wrongly spelled. No one notices. Or worse, no one fixes it. Meanwhile, a scribe sits with your son, writing out the funerary texts, spells, offerings, lists he charges by the symbol. The scribe clears his throat. Would you like a full book of the dead, or just the chapters for heart weighing and gate passwords? Your son hesitates. The full version means you're safer in the afterlife, but it costs more than your house did. He chooses the short version. The papyrus scroll is thin, but it's beautiful. Your name glows in red ink. At least it's spelled correctly here. Across the river, your cousin prepares the tomb. Not a pyramid, not even a stone slab, just a shallow grave lined with bricks and plaster. Under a borrowed sycamore tree, he adds a false door, painted poorly, but it's symbolic. That's what matters. Symbols. Back inside the embalming tent, the priest arrives. He performs the opening of the mouth ritual. You can now eat, speak, see not in this world. In the next, the ritual knife is bronze, dull. It was used yesterday. Your son watches closely. He doesn't understand the words. He remembers them anyway. A boy behind him counts out Shapti figurine-steiny servant statues for the afterlife. 1 per chore, 1 per labor. Your son buys 5. You needed 30-6. The priest does not comment, but his silence carries weight. Your coffin is painted, a single coat, red, blue, black, and gold, but the gold is yellow ochre. No one will know. Your name is inscribed again, this time on wood. Your daughter weeps. She wanted it carved in stone, but wood was cheaper. Then comes the procession, short, uneventful. 2 mourners pretend to wail louder than they feel. One of them forgets your name. The coffin is lowered. You rest beneath a slab of reused limestone. Your cousin brought it from a failed construction site. No one speaks. Not because of grief, because they've run out of things to offer. Your family returns home. The debt remains. 2 goats, 9 sacks of barley, 30 reeds, and an IOU from the scribe. Your son writes your name on a small shrine in the house. It's crooked, but it's enough. In the Duatha underworld, you wake. You carry 5 shabti. You approach the scale. Your heart is heavy. Thoth records your name. Anubis waits. You wish you had bought the full scroll, but math is math, even here. Next. Chapter 19. Afterlife Paperwork, where the bureaucracy of eternity is far worse than you imagined. Chapter 19. Afterlife Paperwork. You thought death would bring peace, freedom, a floating sort of silence, but instead, you wake 2 lines. queues of the dead stretching beyond the horizon. Men and women in various stages of decay, some fully embalmed, some crumbling, some still bleeding. They all carry scrolls, or they don't, and that's a problem. A falcon-headed clerk waves you forward. His desk is made of moonstone, his quill is bone. He doesn't smile. Name, he asks. You say it. He raises an eyebrow, spells it wrong. Do you have Form 1 to 5B, Declaration of Moral Conduct? You don't. He sighs, points, left you go. Line. This one moves slower. A woman sobs into her linen wrappings. A child clutching an amulet of Thoth looks terrified. You feel nothing. But that may be the embalming. At the front of the line, a baboon-headed scribe stamps scrolls with black wax. You're handed one, it says. I have not stolen. I have not lied. I have not caused suffering. You sign, even if you have. No one checks. Not yet. Back to the falcon-headed clerk. He files your scroll. Heart inspection next, he says. You nod. But it's not that simple. You need a token from Anubis. Proof you were properly embalmed. A seal of purity. You don't have it. Your family bought the short package. The clerk sends you back again. You wait behind a soldier with half a face. He reeks of old war. A priestess ahead of you chants to herself. Her heart glows faintly blue. Yours does not. Eventually, Anubis appears. Tall, jackal-headed, tired. He smells your linen, checks the stitching, nods. You get the seal. Back to the clerk, then to Thoth. He stands beside the scales. Your heart in one pan, a feather in the other. If they balance, you move on. If not, Amat eats your soul. You watch the scales tilt. You feel your life replay. Every lie, every stolen reed, every moment of secret jealousy. You wonder if your son remembered to say the final prayer. You wonder if the gods care. The scale balances, barely. You're given another scroll, its directions. To the fields of reeds, use the third gate. Watch for crocodiles. You ask where that is, no answer. You begin to walk through caverns of fire, across rivers of stars, past statues that weep blood. You show your paperwork at every gate. Some guards accept it. Some don't. One makes you solve a riddle. You get it wrong. He lets you pass anyway. He says the answer changes hourly. Finally, you reach the fields, golden crops, endless sun, a house that looks like yours, but cleaner inside. 5 Shabti figurines. Wait, not enough to farm, not enough to rest. You sigh. You plant grain with your hands. You harvest slowly, forever. The afterlife isn't torment. It isn't joy. It's endless administration. But at least your name was spelled right once. That's something next. Chapter 20. The Bored God, where eternity itself becomes your final punishment. Chapter 20. The Bored God. In the beginning, gods were terrifying. They roared with floods, whispered in sandstorms, and cursed entire dynasties with silence. But time wears even the divine thin. You meet him on a morning that never ends. Ra, the sun god, sitting alone, not on a throne, but on a rock, by a river that flows nowhere. His eyes are closed, his jaw slack. He does not glow. You wait for him to speak. He doesn't. You clear your throat. Nothing. You realize he's not meditating. He's napping. The god of the sun is bored. He wakes when a scarab climbs his shoulder. He flicks it off lazily, then sees you. Oh, he says. Another one, you bow. Stumble through a greeting. He waves it away. I've heard them all, he says. Your name, your deeds, your pleas. Every soul thinks they're different. You don't speak. There's nothing to say you're here because you followed the rituals, he says. Died well, got your paperwork sorted, balanced your heart. He looks at you. You want something. You nod. You want purpose, meaning, eternity, to feel like more than a waiting room with palm trees. He stands, stretches, yawns, like thunder. I used to move the sun, he says. Now it moves itself. Magic runs on habit now. No one prays right anymore. You ask why he's still here. He shrugs. Where else would I go? Silence. A breeze lifts the reeds. They sound like whispering scrolls. Ra turns to you. Want a job? He asks. Most gods left. Some sleep. Some forgot themselves. But someone needs to count stars. You hesitate. You'll forget yourself, too, he says, eventually. But you nod. He smiles. One god's boredom becomes your eternity. You sit beside him. He hands you a list, column after column of stars. Every night, he says, mark the ones that flicker, the ones that shift. You look up. The sky is endless. You begin. Time passes. Or maybe it doesn't. You forget your name. Forget Ra's. 2. You become a watcher. One star changes. You write it down. One day you hear footsteps. A new soul, asking questions. You smile slightly. Another list. Another watcher. You were once alive. Once frightened of gods. Now you are their echo. And no one comes to wake you. Final thought. We fear death. But what we should fear more is the boredom of eternity. Thank you for listening to this journey through the ordinary shadows of an extraordinary civilization. Now, sleep. You've earned it.